welcome to UAT Time within the United Countries Special by First Ukraine. You can find us on the frequencies available on our website, firstua.com. I'm Sergey Velichanskiy.
And I am Olivier Vedrine. UAT Time is dedicated to bring Ukraine and Europe closer to each other by introducing the real Ukraine to the rest of the world.
In such crucial moments of the time when so many reforms are taking place at the same time, it is vital to maintain a vivid dialogue between all branches of civil society.
Our guest today is Alexander Shubin, a secretary of the National Tripartite Social and Economic Council.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us for
Hello,
a cup of tea.
thank you for the invitation.
All right. What is, basically, we know, but to explain to the people, what is the National Tripartite Council of Ukraine?
It is a trilateral body which is created by the President of Ukraine in order to maintain social dialogue in country. It unites the representatives of government, the representatives of workers' protectors, and the representatives of employers. And they discuss the most crucial social economic problems. They are trying to find mutually acceptable decisions and to create recommendations which in future could be supported by all branches of social partnership and could be supported by civil society.
Because I would take a guess that with all of the reforms that are taking place at the same time, we're talking about taxes, we're talking about decentralization, we're talking about civil administration reforms, potential reforms. Hopefully some of those will come into force. I mean, it all influences all the parts of the trilateral
Absolutely.
or tripartite council, and that's without the dialogue.
That's very important because we have the same organization in France and in Europe.
Okay.
And this is very important because now more and more the civil society is going in the power. And we cannot build the democracy of the 21st century without a very, very large representation of the civil society in the power. And this is very important that this council in Ukraine exists. Very important. That means that Ukraine is really on the way to go to this modern democracy, European modern democracy. And I think that's a very good point. They are in France, for example, our council, Social and Economic Council, they have only a consultative power. But they are very strong and they represent really the civil society. And for me this is very important, but in the future that will be more and more important because we know that foundation and NGO will have more and more power in the future.
But I think this organization here has the consultative function as well, right?
Yes, it is consultative to Verkhovna Rada, to the Cabinet of Ministers, and some advisors even to the presidents.
I think it's going to be hard probably to evaluate how effective it is. But on your opinion, how often does the Verkhovna Rada, the President's administration, and other government bodies refer to you for consultation?
Well, of course, we are far from the results of European Union, where the European Social and Economic Committee advises to the Council of Europe, to different European institutions, and more than 85% of the recommendations are adopted. I couldn't say that we have the same high percentage, but the most important thing that when you have Cabinet of Ministers is one of the parties of dialogue. The Cabinet of Ministers, after the discussions in the National Tripartite Social Economic Councils, citizens can adopt decision which has recommendations of social partners, and the social partners citizens are also represented at the sittings of Cabinet of Ministers to control which recommendations are accepted, how those recommendations are adopted, and they can advise during the sittings of Cabinet of Ministers.
You know, we received here the president of the European Economic Civil Committee, yeah, President Rimalos.
Yes.
He was our first guest.
Actually, yes, he was sitting right here.
And I was invited to participate in some round table with the Council in Ukraine and with the Council of Europe, the European Economic Civil Committee, and we work a lot. And that was a very difficult job. But you have to understand that Ukraine is now on the way, and this is only the beginning. We cannot do more fast.
Yeah.
But what I saw in those roundtable, in those meetings, that I saw the will to involve the civil society. I insist. I saw the will to involve the civil society in the governance, in this new governance.
But this brings me to the question about the creating of civil society platform. Is there such a thing?
Yes.
And what is it?
Yes,
how does it function?
Under the EU-Ukraine Association Agreement, there are statements, it's article, it seems to me, 470 and 469, which creates civil society platform between Ukraine and European Union. Okay. From the European side, the party is formed by the European Social and Economic Committee, and from the Ukrainian side, this platform is formed by the representatives of trade unions, employers, and other civil organizations, very broad formats. They represent different sectors of interest, different spheres, from gender rights protectors to environmental protectors. There are some volunteer organizations, very broad number of organizations are represented there, and they discuss European integration of Ukraine. They monitor different sectors of reforms. They produce their recommendations, assessments. They communicate with the other bodies of European integration of Ukraine, like the Council, the Committee between Ukraine and European Union, and the Parliamentary Committee.
And you know, Alexander is very modest, but he worked a lot. He worked a lot on that at the beginning. You were one.
Actually, the National Tripartite Social Economic Council was the organization which started to communicate with civil platform, with the Forum of Civil Society and its civil platform to create such monitoring body, and we cooperate, we study thoroughly how this body works. We are trying to help them to produce very transparent regulation for Ukrainian party, for bilateral work, and we hope that in future this platform, I'm very ambitious concerning the Euro integration of Ukraine, and I hope that in future such platform and National Tripartite Council can together create some body of civil and social dialogue in Ukraine using the European pattern.
Yeah, but what we can say is, you know, this platform is for Ukraine politician is like a way of thinking revolution, you know. Mm-hmm. They have to understand that the civil society is really part of the governance. Is really part of like a new, not political party, but they have to take some decision and they have to make influence, and that's very difficult for very old politicians like post-Soviet politicians to understand what means civil society.
But when we talk about the civil society platform,
that's why I said this result, this platform is a good result. Very
Okay,
good
so
reasons.
the platform is already one of the results
Yeah.
of the
yeah.
tripartite.
Yeah,
It's a forum.
You know,
Okay.
It's a place where you can communicate.
Yes,
okay.
we were at the beginning of this this platform. We were together on some round table. You cannot imagine. It was very difficult. You cannot imagine. Yeah.
Okay, because I wanted to ask about the.
But now the job is done.
Well, no, seriously, you know, one of the questions was, could there be tangible results? Because sometimes some work just needs to be done on an ongoing basis, and sometimes it's hard to put the finger, okay, it wasn't here in the beginning, now it's here due to our work. But so other results, like for instance, as you said, the civil society platform is a result. Well, that's good. That's good to know. Are there other results, or how easy it is to evaluate the results?
Well, first of all, we created a body, a monitoring body from civil society to Euro integration. And civil society can express its attitude to reforms, and it's very important. The second and very important result that civil society organizations which were at Maidan and trade unions and employers, they sat together. And they worked out rules, and they know how to communicate, and they know each other, and they work very closely. And they discuss reforms. They started to exchange information. They started to work on reforms and proposals together. They created two working groups, and they started to produce some draft documents on reforms in energy sector, on reforms on human rights and anti-corruption. They are preparing blue books of Ukrainian reforms in these spheres, and as far as I know, somewhere in November there is going to be a General Assembly bilateral with the European Party, and if civil society acknowledges that reforms are happening in Ukraine, they can give very good signal to European Party, to European civil society. And the European civil society will feel Ukraine like a part of Europe. And this is the main result.
Okay.
I think it's very important, and what you said now is very important. You have to show the result to show that you are part of Europe.
Absolutely.
And that's why I invited you, because for me it's very important that the media, the communication, show to the rest of the world your job.
But you know, sometimes you know, there are so many declarations that really you can hear from the media, from the government side, that you know, we do this, we've created this body or this organization. Like for instance, the first time this kind of tripartite council was created in 2005, 10 years ago, by the president back then. But then the second time this council was again reestablished in 2011 by Yanukovych. Now, what is the difference by, you know, for your organization that functions right now? Because I could see that back then the organization just showed the results, but really nothing much happened.
Yes,
back
but,
then.
but now you have some difference. Now you have this platform, you have this how can I say, this relation with the European Economic and Social Committee.
Okay.
And you have also a new way of thinking with Maidan, because this platform exists because of Maidan, because a new NGO came in the power.
That's a good point.
Well, actually, the Social Partnership Council was created back in the 90s, and it discussed only labor relations, collective bargaining, collective agreements, and it was about just relations between employers and employees. Later, in 2005, President Yushchenko, I think, and his advisors studied the European.
That was the first attempt.
That was the first attempt. They were the European experience, and they studied the French experience, the experience of Poland and other countries where we have such bodies in the basic laws of European countries, and there was first attempt to create it. Later, during 5 years, the parties worked on the law on social dialogue, and the law was adopted in 2010. You probably remember that when Yanukovych came, he was at least before the media European-minded. Yes. He declared Euro integration, yes. And he had to create European institutions of social and civil dialogue. But later, when Ukraine finally signed the association agreement, yes. It gave another impulse to our National Tripartite Council, and we began to talk about civil society as a part of this council of so-called in Europe third interest organizations, which have to be involved in this process. And now we work with them. We created committees. We invite the representatives of civil societies to the committees. We invite them to the plenary meetings of National Council. And I hope that in future this cooperation will be even formal. Probably we'll have another party of this dialogue. Like in Europe. I hope that actually we drafted proposals to the Constitution in order to put into the body of main legislation of Ukraine the notion of civil dialogue, the notion of social dialogue. We propose to put a National Social Economic Council into the Constitution in order to make this principle of democratic development one of the key principles of government.
Like in the French Constitution.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. I hope it works. Now let's move to the modern day. And has there been a lot of influence on your work, all the events that took place in Donbass and Crimea, regarding, first of all, that the employers, the large, employers, they had to, abandon their business there. So, let alone Crimea as well. They and a lot of workers, just trade union members, had to flee from the territory. Have you been, have you had your finger on the pulse?
Well, actually, yes, work of any institution of Ukraine changed after the war, and part of infrastructure was ruined. More than 1.5 million of Ukrainians lost their houses, they lost their jobs, and we now have such a term like internal displaced people. Yeah. And of course, social partners should be responsible about that. First of all, last year we had a strategy of social rehabilitation for internal displaced people, and we discussed these documents at the meeting of National Council. Now we discuss reform of National Agency for Unemployed People, and huge part of this concept is drafted for internal displaced people. There are some initiatives of employers course, they now, as far as I know, work on the national strategy of new working places for internally displaced people and for our soldiers who return from the anti-terrorist operation zone. They create new working places for those people, and especially for our soldiers who are now wounded and somehow disabled. This is social responsibility of business, and I think it's very good that Ukrainian business understands this. And of course, it's one of the main topics of the Ministry of Social Policy of Ukraine, and now the National Tripartite Council is headed by the Minister, Mr. Rozenko, and almost in every document which goes through the Council, there is some influence of the horrible situation which we have now in Ukraine.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is normal. This country is in war, and you, as you say, you are 1.5 million people left their house, and I am very, very proud about Ukraine, about the Ukrainian people, because can you imagine a crisis like that and the country stand up? This is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, we never underline that, but look, you have a war in Ukraine and you stand up.
Well, first of all, it shows how big the country is, because
And courageous is the people.
1.5 million refugees, but we call them the internally displaced people. So they're like from Ukraine, in Ukraine. You know, that shows the greatness of you know,
the
of
nation,
the size of the nation, of the country as well. Well, we have a few more minutes left. What is your expectations from European Union? How can European Union and European Union institutions be of better help to us, to your work, and to the development of civil society?
As I have already said, I'm a very European-minded person. I have 2 children, and I want them to live in a European country. And that is why, for me, the main responsibility of Europe to show the advantages of European way of life. Each Ukrainian should have an opportunity to visit one of the European countries and to see what is Europe, what are the European values, and what is the European way of life. That is why I hope that in future I can take my children to Europe without visas. First of all.
Exactly. So
yeah, the visa problem. And you know that Jean-Claude Juncker promised that the visa will be okay at the end of this year.
How so?
You know, I think we have to put the pressure on that, really.
But is the visa situation connected with the Donbass situation? Is there a relationship in there?
I think no.
Okay.
I think no.
So why we only hear about the visa liberation process, but nothing happens?
I think first, you know, you need to do biometric passport.
We have 1 minute left, so.
Yeah. Then, but really, I think this is only an administrative problem, and but I want to underline the fact that we have to make the pressure on that, because I know the European Union, and if we don't put the pressure, that will take more time.
Well, I think we'll dedicate the whole program, one of the future programs, about visas.
Yes,
and,
because it's very difficult to explain, and a lot of things.
But at this
say.
time, well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
I know there is a lot of issues to talk about the tripartite council and the things you do, but looks like work is being done, and it's good. I mean, and there is a lot more work ahead.
And when the war in the Donbass will be finished, you will have to do the reconstruction. And that will be another job.
That's
Hopefully,
true.
it's going to be better sooner than
Yeah.
later. It was United Country UAT time by First Ukraine. Thanks for joining us for a cup of tea.
Olivier Vedrine and Sergey Velichanskiy were working for you in the studio. Stay with us and we will show to you the real Ukraine.
Thank you for being with us. Have a good day and see you soon.